What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Librarians of Solana podcast. My name is T, and I am one of the librarians here in Solana in the world of Wraith. I have an exciting episode for you this week, as last weekend I took down a pro quest in Elizabethton, Tennessee. This is a follow-up episode where I'm going to talk about the deck that I played, the list that I played. I ended up running back the exact same 80 cards that I played at the one in Comic Kung Fu, where I lost to Conroe. So I got a second place and a first place with this list, and this was the Saturday event, this pro quest that I won, and we didn't get home until really late. We got home around 3 a.m. because of daylight savings time, so I decided not to play the Sunday event. So I didn't get to go to a full sweep of 8 events. I ended up only going to 7, but I think it's fine. I think it'll buff because I ended up taking one down. I was saying the whole tournament, I was like, if I win this one, I'm not going tomorrow. It's going to be so late. And then I did. Then I won. So I'm sure the graphic is already up on the screen from the Fab TCG site. Blue Post, great store, great venue. The event was rather small. It was the smallest pro quest that I ended up going to. But 4-1 through Swiss. My only loss to Rhett Irby, who ended up getting 4th in the event. I played him again in top 8. During Swiss, I got kind of high rolled. During top 8, I kind of didn't. There was one turn where he just forgot to reveal on Starvo, which kind of unfortunate, and that let me take back a lot of tempo. But I'm pretty sure that I was taking over that game either way, even if he didn't forget to reveal. And then the event was great, of course. In this top 8 here, as it's listed, we know a bunch of people there. They're regulars that I play with all the time. And since I already got my invite from the event that I played against Michael Conroe in, the invite passed down to Alex Benton, which great player, very young, very good at the game, new to the competitive scene, and already taken it by storm. He's done very well, and I'm very impressed with him as a player. He's very good, and he's still learning and picking up just as fast as being put down. So it's super cool to see new players the same age that I was when I started getting competitive and doing well, and he's going to the Pro Tour, so heck yeah, glad to hear it. 3rd and 4th, we know those guys. Zach Weaver, local dude to me, great guy. Rhett Irby, local dude to me, great guy. 5th place, Jonathan Bird, one of my teammates on SEAL Team Lotus. He was 5-0 through Swiss, and then he got in top 8, unfortunately, but it happens. So yeah, that's the top 8 breakdown from our event at the Blue Post. A lot of Prism, a lot of Bravo Star, and then some Runeblade to fill it out. I wanted to talk a little bit about my list that I played, which is public. If you go to fabtcg.com and go under Decklist, you can find it there. It doesn't have my sideboard separated out, but it's a pretty stock Prism list. This is the list that I worked on a lot with Dalen. He helped me out an incredible amount, because before 2 weeks ago, I think I mentioned it on last week's podcast, but before 2 weeks ago, I had never played Prism before ever. Like one game in Blitz, and that's it. So there was a lot of learning, a lot of testing, and I'm very thankful for my team, SEAL Team Lotus. Thank you guys for all the testing that you were able to help me with. Especially big shout out to Jacob Baugh, who was a very incredible testing partner. Thank you so much for that. And going forward, we have this. By the time you're seeing this, I'm already there. But this weekend is the Calling in Indianapolis. I unfortunately don't get to play. I'm going to be working behind the Star City booth. But if you see this and then you're in Indy, come say hi. Happy to talk about anything Flesh and Blood. As long as the booth isn't busy and I don't get in trouble, I'm happy to talk about all things Flesh and Blood with anyone at any time. I love this game. But yeah, let's go over a few of the things in my list. My sideboard was 3 Celestial Cataclysm, 1 Fate Foreseen, 3 Sink Below, 3 Raging Onslaught, and 3 Unmovable. This left a very tight 60 for the main board, with the base equipment loadout being, of course, Luminaris, as well as Arcanite Skullcap, Fyendal's Tunic, Ironhide Gauntlet, and Phantasmal Footsteps. This is very quickly becoming a very stock layout for Prism as far as their equipment goes. I am liking the Tunic build a lot more than the Vestige build. You don't get to play things like Tome, but I don't think you really need Tome of Divinity if you're going to play this control-y aura game plan. Tome, in my opinion, gained a lot of value from being able to turn on your soul. And the only real ways you do that in this build are Genesis and Merciful Retribution and Soul Shield. but by the time you're doing any of those, you've already gotten rid of a card. Like Merciful, you're probably flashing it out and they're attacking it, or you just had it, so you need your Tome to line up with that. Soul Shield, you've already spent a card to play it. Genesis, you're on your own turn, so Tome is fine. I just think that build has a very high ceiling and a very low floor, because you're just increasing the number of cards in your deck that don't block. And with the Aura build, you need to be able to block when you need to block. So I'm not huge on playing infinite more cards that don't block. You weaken your chain matchup by a lot, which doesn't sound very important, but it is still a portion of the meta. I ended up playing against Chain twice in 5 rounds of Swiss, and I won both games, but it was very tight, and if I ever hit a point where I wasn't able to block, I would have just lost. So there's definitely some importance with being able to block. In the Chain matchup, you side out all of your auras except for Arclight Sentinel so that you can hit them with a bunch of Blood Debt, and Parable of Humility so that you can decrease all of their attacks when they string a bunch together. It forces them to also attack the Parable of Humility with their last attack, so usually you're going to save about 4 life from the Rosetta Thorn that has to attack it, or they waste a card like a Bounding Demigon or something. And then you also get all the value from the things that are attacking before. So you end up with this card that you can play on a turn that they have off, and you gain like 6 to 7 life from it minimum, which is very good. It helps those thresholds as well, because a lot of their attacks are just like 0s or 1s that attack for 4. So instead they're attacking for 3, you only have to block with 1 card. You're not taking threshold damage. If they're on like a Mauvrion Skies or something, you gain life from that. So it's just overall a lot of value for the deck. And then you can just swing in with Heralds whenever you have extra cards in hand. I think it's also very important when you're going for this fatigue plan to stick a 1-drop Herald, like a Wartune Herald or a Miraging Metamorph in your arsenal in the mid to late game in anticipation of them playing Eclipse, because then you're going to have to like use Tunic to slap that into the Urser so you don't die. They typically are just going to have free go again because you'll have Soul Shields in your soul. So you have to be mindful of having a soul against that deck. It can put you behind by having a soul instead of being a forward life gain mechanic by preventing that 1 damage whenever you need it. So you have to be mindful of things like that. In the mirror match, I take out Arcanite Skullcap and play Crown of Reflection instead. This allows you to keep the tempo whenever you're able to make a random Spectral Shield, attack with it, and then turn it into a blue aura. You can sometimes get them by them thinking that you're out of things, and then you put in this blue aura, and then you still get to attack one of their auras to help you keep board presence and maintain tempo. The Prism mirror match has a lot of intricate plays. You have to be able to evaluate every situation that you're in and watch the board state, watch life totals, watch hands, watch arsenals, and pay attention to who has the most resources, who has the biggest board presence, and adjust from there. If you have a few auras out, you can start slinging Heralds and just trying to kill your opponent. But if you're behind on board and you start slinging Heralds, they can just block out 1 or 2 of them and then use this giant board state to keep progressing and taking tempo. If they never have to break one of your auras, then they get to play an extra blue aura at the end of every chain. And like, if you have the Genesis, you have the Genesis. If you have a blue aura, 90% of the time, it's best to play the blue aura at the end of your chain and be like, all right, if you have it, you have it. And then make them have it. But if they're blocking out Heralds that you've slung before you play this blue aura, then you know they don't have it. Unless they're going to be flashing it in with no cards in hand, so then it's not a threat. It's just flashed in and breaks one of your auras, which is fine because usually by then you'll have something impactful, Merciful Retribution, Haze Bending, something like that to help you keep up a board state even after they break your thing. With the new rules changes, Spectral Shields won't lose go again if you pop them off of things like Merciful, which was a big piece of how I took down the Prism Mirror a lot. In every Prism Mirror I've ever played, I've still only lost 1, and that was to Michael Conroe in the finals. This deck just... you have to be able to analyze the situation you're in and then go from there. So my list is scrolling through on screen right now. You'll be able to see it, and then also it is linked in the Fab TCG ProQuest retrospective article. When you scroll down to where it says the blue post, right next to my name, there's a clickable link that pulls up my deck list. You can see the whole thing there. The deck is pretty straightforward. These Tunic Skullcap builds are a lot more simple to understand than the Halo Vestige builds. And I think that the deck is fairly new player friendly. You just have to, like any Flesh and Blood deck, you have to be able to sit down, play some games, and get some good testing in. I did open my Gold Cold, and I did record it. I opened it as soon as we got home because I was very tired, but I am an impatient person and I wanted to know what it was. But I did sit down at my computer at 3 a.m. to open it, and I recorded it. So I'll insert that clip. It is currently 3 a.m. because of daylight savings time. Normally it would be like 2 a.m., but daylight savings pushed it forward. I wanted to record the opening of my Gold Cold that I just won from my Pro Quest for the podcast, but I am also a quite impatient person, so I wanted to open it as soon as I got home. So yeah, this will just get inserted into this week's podcast episode, but we're going to open this on camera. Break the seal. Let's see it. LSS Gold. Gold foil is Null Rune Robe. Hey, I'll take that one any day. Gold Cold Null Rune Robe. Sweet. Now back to your regularly scheduled podcast. Pretty cool. I will take a Gold Cold Null Rune Robe any day. So now I have 2 blinged out chest pieces. Regardless of what the occasion is, I'll have something sweet to play. I think that's going to be all for this week's episode. There's no real news or anything happening. So huge shout out to everybody who helped me test. I'm very excited to be going to the Pro Tour. Shout out to John Suarez for telling me just play the good deck and take one down. I did that last weekend, got my invite, and then did it this weekend and got my Gold Cold foil. I'll be in Indy like I mentioned before. If you're there, come swing by the booth and say hi. Might do a travel vlog. Haven't done one of those in a while. Unsure. I'm writing out tonight. It's Wednesday for me here as I'm recording this. I'm writing out tonight with the head judge of the SCG events, Ward Warren. We're going to head out tonight so that we can be there early. Judge conference on Thursday for Magic. And then we'll be hitting the weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We've got some events and I'll be at the booth. Star City Games now buying Flesh and Blood cards. So if you have anything that you're looking to sell or if you're looking for cards to buy, we'll have both cases covered for you. Come see me at the booth. I'm trying to think of something like Tommy Fresh did, where he did like a little giveaway. If you bring me an unpeeled, unadulterated banana, the Star City Games booth, I will have a prize for you. Bring me 1 banana to the Star City Games booth. The first person only. I'm not gonna hand out a bunch of prizes for it, but the first person to bring me a banana, I will give you a prize. Only qualifies if we're not super slammed at the booth. Please do not like walk up to the booth with a banana if we are a million people around. But yeah, if you bring me a banana and we're not super slam packed, I'll have something for you. I'll figure it out between now and then, but it'll be worth it. Anyways, I think that is going to conclude this week's episode. Thank you so much to everybody who watches, and thank you for the support. Thank you to LSS for the podcast shout out on that FabTCG article. And checking out. Oh, you got a good one. Thinking Fast and Slow. Love this book. That'll be due back next Thursday. I'll see you there.